Welcome to Ingrid's World. When you fly, have you ever thought about the men and women piloting the plane? I have always been fascinated on what it takes to be a pilot. Have you ever dreamed of owning an airline? Well, on this show, we have the opportunity to meet people living their dreams and giving back to the community. Meet Captain Karl Minter, who is a B-767 captain for United Airlines with over 19,500 hours of flying experience. He is also a retired lieutenant colonel with 26 years of service in the United States Air Force Reserve. Captain Minter flew C-141 Bs and Star Lifters, both at McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey, and Andrews Air Force Base in Maryland. He also flew C-20B aircrafts at the 89th Presidential Airlift Wing at Andrews Air Force Base, located in Maryland. He is a combat decorated command pilot who flew missions to Grenada, Panama, Desert Shield, Desert Storm, while providing safe and efficient worldwide transportation to the Department of Defense, White House staff, and national leaders. Captain Minter has numerous medals and citations and certificates from his military career and service. He is an engaged community leader and a member of the Board of Trustees at Tuskegee University and a member of the Friends of Tuskegee National Historic Site. Captain Minter is also chairman of the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. Then you have an opportunity to meet Airline Captain Shye Gilad. He is founder and principal of Creating Lift Leadership, a coaching and consulting firm. Gilad is an adjunct professor and entrepreneur in residence at Georgetown University School of Business, where he has earned his MBA in international business. Shye Gilad has trained and coached hundreds of executives and entrepreneurs and airline pilots to successful outcomes and lead multiple startups in entertainment as well as air transportation and leadership development. He is passionate about behavioral science, lifelong learning, and random acts of hospitality. Shye is co-host of Business Owners Radio, the show that helps your business grow, with new podcasts available on iTunes every Monday. He is co-founder and managing partner of ProJet Aviation, an award-winning aircraft management and worldwide charter company. So passengers, my viewers, please buckle your seatbelts because this show is ready to take off. So welcome to the show, Captain Minter.
Thank you, Ingrid.
Well,
happy to be here.
I'm glad to have you. So let's talk a little bit about it. How did you get involved in aviation?
Okay, so I started at a very early age, probably about 15, 14 years old. I lived in New York, and my dad took me out to a summer program by Negro Airmen International. It was an aviation academy, and they put me in an airplane in the summertime and said, go fly. So I got a chance to get introduced to aviation at a very young age. That's typically the pathway that most of us get inspired about aviation and becoming active members of the community.
So you were like 15 sitting in a car?
Yeah. And years later I asked him, well, why did you take me out and put me in an airplane like that? He said, I wanted to keep you out of trouble, number one, and I thought it was very interesting, number two. Wow. So Negro Airmen International was an organization that did aviation summer camps to introduce young people to aviation and aerospace. It's pretty much what I do with the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. We have a full portfolio of programs to introduce and mentor young people so that they can look forward to developing careers within aerospace.
You know, and I think that's so important. So before we start talking about its wonderful organization, tell us a little bit about your career.
I was lucky and blessed. Okay, so in high school, I did everything I could in order to fly in an airplane. In fact, I had a instructor in high school, one of my gym coaches, who owned an airplane. So I got a chance to fly with him. I got a chance to fly with Negro Airmen International. And then when I went off to college, I did some flying while I was in college. So I got my licensing through flying at college. I went to Embry-Riddle University in Daytona Beach, got all of my certificates and everything else. And then when I graduated from there, I went to work for Sikorsky Aircraft up in Connecticut. At Sikorsky, I was a flight test engineer, and I worked on the Black Hawk program and a couple other programs. And I had gotten selected to go to the flight school, or what we call UPT, undergraduate pilot training for the Air Force. And I went to Columbus, Mississippi to do that. Pretty interesting, challenging, very exciting. And when I graduated there, I went to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey and flew C-141B Starlifters. And that's basically a big 4-engine jet. You fly it around the world, and oh yeah, it's a huge airplane, and you're pretty much, if you saw it on the news, we were either there or headed there. So you know, it was at the time a mainstay for transportation and logistics in the Air Force. Wow,
I mean, it's pretty exciting. And when I was reading your bio, and we were talking about, you know, being at a combat mission. My goodness.
Well, the experience allows you to understand and learn how to communicate with people, how to lead, how to make good decisions, all of the things that are necessary in order to make a mission go. So I very much enjoyed that, that aspect of my career.
So I always like to find out, were there any roadblocks that you dealt with when you were pursuing your career?
Sure. You know, there's no one alive that will have everything prepared for them when they're looking for a career. There's people who don't believe that you can do what you can do.
Okay.
There's people who will not provide opportunities for you to do what you want to do until you know. Okay.
Wow.
So that happens. You have to have the tenacity and the drive to overcome those obstacles. I speak to about 3,000 kids a year, and I tell them success is not something that comes from just wanting to be successful. You have to have the preparation, and the preparation is the education, learning skill sets. So when an opportunity presents itself, then you may be successful at that opportunity because you have the education and the skills to make it work.
Wow.
So you have to have a game plan, okay? A plan A, a plan B, and a plan C.
And a plan C.
Right.
I love how you think. Oh my goodness. So now let's talk about the organization that you are actually the chairman of.
I've been blessed and lucky enough to work with a volunteer organization called the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals. And what it is people who are volunteers who want young people to learn about the careers within the aviation and aerospace community. Okay. So we work with the FAA, which is the government. We work with DOT, which is transportation. We work with the Defense Department. All in an effort to get young people energized, focused, teach them about what the careers are in those jobs and how they can be successful at it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, when I was reviewing, 40 years that you've been doing?
Yes, this is our 40th year. So it is a milestone to be an organization that not only has persistence in the community, but has relevance in the community.
Yes.
When you look at other organizations, we have survived the test of time.
Yeah,
okay,
indeed.
And young people will come to us and ask, okay, what is this all about and how can I get involved? And we do camps and academies across the nation.
Yes,
we do scholarships. We do job fairs. In fact, we have a job fair coming up in Las Vegas in this month.
Yes.
Actually, the 26th and then 27th of this month in Las Vegas, where we have young candidates come in with recruiters from companies, from aerospace companies, from airlines, recruiting for young people to come into the workforce. And
Wow.
so we try to marry together potential with opportunity so those young people will be successful.
Wow. And I think that's what's so important, because that's the bottom line of getting them. So we have a young person who's out there and saying, okay, that sounds like something I want to do. What's their first step?
First step is to go to our website, which is www.oab.org. Okay. In that website, you'll find a whole portfolio of programs, mentoring programs, scholarships, workforce development ideas, and talk about the careers that they want to do. People can't, I tell young people all the time, you have to follow your dream.
Oh,
if you don't have a dream, how are you going to make it happen? Okay, so what we do is we plant the seeds for those dreams, okay, and allow people to dream big dreams, because those dreams, with enough skill set, with enough preparation, become reality. Okay,
Right,
that's the big picture.
See, and I think that that's what's really key. You know, that they are able to see that and they can get excited about it. And I noticed you have it truly throughout the country.
Yes, it is. It's nationwide.
It. I mean, it was like,
it's nationwide.
Because I was like, I said, well, maybe it's just in Virginia.
No.
I was talking to someone. I'm like, guess what? It's in New York too.
New York, Virginia, Memphis, Florida, the West Coast. So it is a nationwide program.
Well, I had to tell you, I had to thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to wrap up this segment, but everyone stay right there, because guess what? Karl brought us, Captain Minter brought us a video all about the program that he's been speaking about.
Thank you very much for your support.
Minter, you're wonderful.
Outstanding.
Outstanding.
Thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for what you're doing.
Well, coming up next after the video, you'll be talking and meeting with, I'll be talking and meeting with Shye Gilad, and he's going to be really talking to you about lots of different things too. I hope you were inspired. I know I was. So let's tell everyone, okay? All right.
Welcome to the Organization of Black Aerospace Professionals Solo Flight Academy. Rather than tell you how our program is not like your typical summer program, let's take a look at what we do. Now that I have your interest, what does it take to get to this point? Hard work, dedication, teamwork, and of course execution on your part. You'll be tested like never before. You'll be amazed, possibly even transformed by the end of the 2-week academy. Rest assured, this is not just a preparing to fly program, but rather a preparation for success in life program. Our Solo Flight Academy is designed to test a student's communication skills, challenge them academically, and increase their situational awareness. All this done in a demanding and learning-friendly environment, during ground-related operations, and ultimately while you fly. If what you've seen and heard appeals to your 5 senses, then we want you to sign up for the next opportunity to spread your wings and fly. Look for more information at obap.org. It will be an experience you will never forget. Teamwork and collaboration are not only stressed throughout the program, but vital to our success. This program is made possible by funding by OBAP. As a nonprofit organization, we rely on funding from membership, sponsorship, and donations to support our programs. We would like to take time and acknowledge the following. Jeppesen, for their support in equipping all of our students with their formal courseware. The Delaware State Police Aviation Section, for mentoring and educating our youth. And our friends at Delaware State University, for the use of their airplanes and dedicated staff, where you're more than just a student and treated like family. It's time to spread your wings and fly.
Well, welcome back. And now on the set, we have Shye Gilad, who is here to talk about wonderful things that he's doing. So let's talk about what you do, and let's talk about your career.
Sounds great, Ingrid.
So how did you get started?
Well, I'm a son of an airline pilot, so I grew up around airplanes in upstate New York, and my dad was a captain for U.S. Air. And so ever since I was a little kid, I actually had my first ride in a glider when I was 6 weeks old, sitting in his lap. And I always love to tell people I greased the landing, but
I love it.
I got the bug early, and so my life had a few different twists and turns, but along the way I always kept a passion for aviation, and I worked my way through school and became a cargo pilot first, and then eventually an airline pilot.
Cargo pilot too, my goodness. Wow. So, so you worked your way through school with schools?
Oh yeah, so one thing that might be interesting for your viewers to know is I was actually a high school dropout. Yeah, my dad, he passed away when I was quite young. Wow. And it was, it was a traumatic experience, as it can be for a child to lose a parent. Yeah. And so I found my way doing different things. I liked to play rock and roll music, and I worked a lot of different odd jobs. But I always kept half an eye on airplanes. And then I got to a point where I just knew that that was something I wanted to do. So I went back, I had to do a lot of remedial classes, but I eventually worked my way through community college. And then I got into Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University in Florida. And I had got my private pilot ratings already, and then went to school down there, and I worked at Cracker Barrel when I was in school down there, and I waited tables and worked construction, and I worked my way through and eventually got a job working at a cargo carrier, and then came up here to DC and started working with United Express, which eventually became Independence Air for a while. And then and that served as really a springboard for me to launch my own company.
Oh my good, well, because, and you never hear that type of story. I have to tell you, that's rather unusual, but also very inspiring for, for the parent, for the student who said, things are not going well, and you can click on here and say, hey, you can be just like Shye. You can do this.
Well, I think you always have choices. As long as you follow what you believe in, you always have choices. You just got to stay true to yourself and work really hard, and somehow things seem to work out.
So the major roadblock you said was the death of your parent, which was huge.
Yeah.
Any other roadblocks that you faced in your career?
Well, you always face roadblocks, right? I feel like there's two kinds of people that you run into along the way in your career. Those that encourage you and help lift you up, and those that tell you what you're doing is wrong and it's never going to happen. So there never seems to be a shortage of those. The ones that tell you there's no way you could do that, it's not going to happen. So you really got to hang on to the ones that inspire you and keep you going the right way. Okay. So I would say, some roadblocks around there. Cash is always tough to come by. But I think it's just really what I've found is that if you show up and find a way to be useful, doors will open, because those people that want to lift you up will be there for you. So that's my motto, is kind of show up and be useful. Show up and be useful. Yeah. I think I'm going to adopt that one, because I love it. I do. Now, what motivated you, to start ProJet Aviation? Tell us about that. Yeah, so, well, when I was at the airlines, one thing that I was very fascinated by was aviation safety, and also the psychology of what has happened in aviation accidents, where as safe as the airlines are, sometimes the accidents that happened really were because of a miscommunication with the crew or a lack of leadership in the crew. And so I very much researched aviation safety and got involved as a trainer, and then became a trainer for captains. So I developed captain leadership courseware with some other people at the airlines. And I would actually take people through ground school, and I became a trainer in the flight simulator. So I was very passionate about that. And I also got involved, so that also got me into sort of a management role where I was still flying, but I was training a lot of the pilots and just really loved that work. And so Independence Air was an airline that had started up in the mid-2000s, and they ran into a little bit of trouble. And me and a few of the other guys that were in management said, why don't we try to do our own thing? What if we took all this great experience we have in aviation safety and in training, and then applied this in the private aviation space, which for me really rekindled a passion I have for hospitality. So it was like combining what I love about hospitality with what I loved about aviation safety. That was the inspiration for ProJet Aviation. Oh my goodness. So now with ProJet,
you know, that has to be like really fascinating from that standpoint. When did you start operate? When did you start your company?
So, you know, we're in our 8th year, and officially, yeah. Thank you very much. I think we started in a kitchen and then in an old barn. You know, we started conversations about it, me and the guys, when we first started out. And then it was really 2006 where we started pursuing it. But 2007 is when we really got airplanes and launched. And yeah, it's been an incredible ride.
So we're going to also see some of your pictures of your planes.
Oh yeah.
I think I have like the Hawk on there.
Yeah, the Hawker is very nice aircraft.
I looked at that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's a dream. I love it. How do you make your decisions in terms of the airlines, the different types of planes that you want to have in your fleet?
Yeah, so the way it works in private aviation, our model is that we actually manage these aircraft for individuals and companies, and then we make them available to the general public in charter. So we are a certificated airline, like you said. We're an on-demand air carrier, and we have the authority through the FAA to fly all over the world.
Wow.
And, but as a process, the aircraft are actually wholly owned by individuals or corporations, then we manage them. So as far as trying to figure out which airplanes to actually handle, it really depends on the needs of those individuals. And so we do the analysis and work with them to find out what their mission is, and we make the recommendations based on the marketplace and what their needs are. I always tell people it's like property management, but the property has wings, if that makes sense.
That's a great analogy. I love it. Now, tell us about the Aviation Education Expo.
Oh yeah, the Education Expo is such a passion of ours. I have to tell you, it was really founded by Julie O'Brien, who came to work for us and has been working with us since 2008. And Julie, in and of herself, is a really inspirational person. She had this vision when she was working in Frederick. She's a passionate aviation enthusiast, and her idea was, you know, there's not enough, that kids don't know enough about the different kinds of opportunities in aviation, and what if we could bring them together and bring vendors together from everything from different branches of the military to private use and public use, and anything from air ambulance to crop dusting to just show avionics shops, all these different opportunities and careers that are available. Well, she started this little idea in Frederick, and it actually turned into a pretty big idea. So she told me about it. We held the first one when we started in Winchester in 2008, and let me just tell you what had happened. I was so impressed, and we had about 100 students that year and about 20 vendors, but I was so impressed with the vibe and how excited the kids were. And when I first wanted to go to school, you know, I told you I was a dropout.
Right.
Well, when I went to college, a bunch of my friends held me a surprise party, and they passed the hat, and they raised $400 to send me to school. And at the time, $400 to me might as well have been $400,000. Like, it was so much money, and I really needed it. And so that was the first scholarship I ever got. So I told Julie, I said, you know what? When we do this next year, I want to start a scholarship, right? So I said, I want to give away $1,000 next year. And we did that. And then what happened is one of the other vendors, Clay Hoxton from Hoxton Insurance, our agent, said, you know what? I want to put up $1,000. I want to match it. And so that happened the next year. And let me just tell you that last year, we gave away almost $70,000.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
And I saw a child holding up a check for like $12,000.
It's been amazing.
That's fantastic.
It's been amazing to think that original $400 that somebody invested in me turned into now, I mean, over this time period, over the last 9 years, we've given away in total over $150,000 in scholarships.
Stop.
Yeah, it's just been, to me, that in and of itself is the definition of success.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, and kudos to you, because you could have just said, hey, I'm staying on the business track, we're making money, the profit's looking good. But no, you've taken something else to make our world better and helping children.
Well, I always feel that every organization has an opportunity, if not an obligation, at least an opportunity to do something more than just make a few dollars, you know, because you participate in the community provides a lot to us, so it's just so great to be able to give back a little bit.
Oh my goodness, you're quite right about that. One of the questions that I wanted to ask you is that, What trends are you seeing in terms of careers in aviation? What are you seeing any trends?
Well, it's such an interesting time, really, because just like most other industries, technology has created some new types of jobs, and it's eliminated some other types of jobs. One thing that's really fascinating, not just with drone technology, but the capability to operate aircraft remotely, would suggest that maybe in another 20, 30 years, we won't need airline pilots in the same way that we need them now. Wow. Now, I'm not suggesting they'll all be gone in 20 or 30 years, but I think we may see, in a few decades from now, we may start to see that maybe there's one pilot in the flight deck because the technology can be handled in other ways, right? Wow. I think we may see cargo aircrafts where the pilots are actually flying the airplane from the ground, and there's nobody sitting in the cockpit at all, just like the military does with some airstrikes right now, flying drones. So I think that's very fascinating. But there's also so many types of careers involving technology in aviation right now, with the development of drones and some of the other exciting things happening in aerospace right now. I mean, think about it. There are private companies trying to bring people into outer space for tourism. I mean, it's just a fascinating time for people that are still inspired by flight.
You know, and I think that that's really just a wonderful thing about what you're saying, because there's opportunities, and that's what I'm hearing, lots of opportunities and things to look at. Yeah. So as we wrap up this segment, I want to know your words of advice. You said show up. That was like important. Yeah. But any individual who's, let's say, watching this and they kind of get excited about what you're saying, what would you suggest?
Yeah, well, like you said, I mean, show up and be useful. And I would say, look for people that inspire you. It's those relationships that really, when I think back on my career, all these difficult points in my life, it's always been someone that's been there, someone that could give me a little bit of advice, someone that recognized maybe a little something in themselves when they were trying to work their way up, that has reached down and helped me along. And I think those people are always there. So pay attention to the people that inspire you and reach out to them. Yeah.
I hope everyone out there enjoyed this great interview with you. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Ingrid. I really enjoyed it.
Pleasure.
It's great to be on your show.
I would like to thank Captain Karl Minter and Shye Gilad for being excellent guests and discussing their careers. Both of you, I am sure, have inspired many watching the show. My quote this time is from Mae Jemison, Dr. Mae Jemison, the first African-American female astronaut. Never be limited by other people's limited imagination. And thank you for watching Ingrid's World. And don't forget, friend us on Facebook and follow us, Ingrid's World VA, in Twitter and Instagram for instant Ingrid's World news. So stay in touch. Peace.